Hi, and welcome back to JKernifer Astrology. My name is Jenny, and I transform lives through the mediums of tarot and astrology. I will be opening myself up to personal readings for parts of June and July, so look in the description box below for more information. The Gemini New Moon 2024 occurs on Thursday, June 6th at 8:37 AM Eastern Standard Time, inviting us to cultivate curiosity, embrace diversity, develop adaptability, and navigate the at times polar opposite paradoxes of life with an open and inquisitive mind. The new moon is when the moon disappears from our Earth-based perspective for 3 days. It is not visible at this phase because when the sun and moon align at the same exact degree point of the zodiac, or point in the sky or universe, in the new moon phase, the moon comes between the Earth and the sun, and is therefore unable to reflect the sun's light back to us from this position. The sun and moon aligned at the same exact degree point of the zodiac, with the sun representing who we were born to be and the moon representing who we already are on a deep private level, is a divine alignment of energy that makes new moons ideal for manifestation and for setting new intentions. The new moon and the 2 weeks that follow provide opportunities for new beginnings and to begin anew. You may notice themes of experimentation, taking spontaneous action or initiation on something, and movement. In the sign of Gemini, we'll be presented with opportunities to strengthen our adaptability and versatility, improve our listening and communication skills with the influence of Mercury, and gain greater awareness around the power of our thoughts and our overall mindset to create our 3D reality, our ability to manifest, and our ability to receive abundance. Factoring in that this is the second of two back-to-back new moons featuring conjunctions to Venus, with this Gemini new moon featuring a conjunction to Venus while Venus is Cazimi, the new beginnings that we're manifesting and experiencing over the next 2 weeks and 6 months. I'll have to come back later and plug the corresponding full moon 6 months later here as an end card, but this will be the full moon in Gemini 2024. We'll see themes of enhanced learning and communication and heart-centered communication, or we'll be receiving messages from the heart. Gemini Energy. I am someone who identifies as having a lot of Gemini energy. I have my natal Moon, Mars, and Vesta in the early degrees of Gemini, and I have multiple placements in the 3rd house, home to Gemini energy, including Uranus, giving me the aura of a Gemini. You'll also notice that Mercury is highly aspected in my chart. It is the second most aspected planet in my chart after Venus, my chart ruler, as a Libra rising. Mercury is rising in my 12th house, along with my chart ruler Venus and the sun in the 1st. This makes Mercury just as significant as Venus, my chart ruler, giving a nice blend of Libra, Leo, and Gemini to my energy. I am Gemini. Curiosity is my name. I am into everything, and I know everyone. My mind moves at the speed of light. I get more done in a day than most people do in a month. Maybe that's why I'm considered to be two people. Night and day, extroverted and thoughtful, duality, dynamics, every pot on the stove set to boil. I am the most exciting guest at the dinner party, if you can keep me there long enough to complete the meal. This is a quote by Andy Nathanson, author and astrologer. Gemini is a mutable or adaptable air sign, known for its intelligence, versatility, and high sociability. The element air has connections to logic, intellect, communication, speech, thought, and writing. In stark contrast to the preceding sign, Taurus's stubborn resistance to change, Gemini is the most adaptable or changeable sign in the zodiac. Where Taurus tends to be more reserved and introverted, Gemini tends to be more extroverted. Gemini can be thought of as shapeshifters who are often restless in nature. Another stark contrast to preceding sign Taurus's steady, grounded, present energy. Currently, the sun casts a spotlight of energy on the constellation Gemini through what's more commonly known as Gemini season, creating an emphasis on a collective desire for change, variety, and freedom. This new moon will inspire us to remain open to miracles, surprises, experiences, and opportunities. Be sure to look for blessings in disguise. At the very least, we'll see our existing circumstances or current environment with a fresh perspective, and we'll learn to welcome change with an open heart and an open mind. We'll also experiment with how making minor adjustments to our mindset can impact our experiences. The pictograph, or glyph for Gemini, represents the mirroring figures of the twins, Castor and Pollux. This is associated with duality, twins, siblings, versatility, and communication. Duality can include shadow and dark, but the point is not to focus on the duality itself, but instead on the power that comes from bridging the gap and balancing two seemingly opposing forces together, such as healing shadow with light, or finding the way out of pain by navigating through it. Have you ever wondered why Gemini is the most notoriously disliked sign in the zodiac? Well, it's not Gemini. I hate to break it to you. It's because Gemini is a mirror. It's an air sign. Gemini and Libra especially are mirrors. They reflect back to us. Particularly Gemini, the shadow, the parts of self we may not be quite ready to see. And it's those reflections of things within us that upset us or trigger us and make us dislike Gemini. Let me say it before and I will say it again. Shadow work is important. While we may allow our shadow to sit beside us in the passenger seat, we must not allow it to drive, at least not for long. The glyph also represents the lungs and the human arms, two parts of the body that Gemini and Mercury rule. The two parallel lines represent knowledge, wisdom, and learning, while the top and bottom line represent the ability of the human mind to synthesize and organize information. According to Greek mythology, the immortal Pollux grieved the loss of his brother Castor, his mortal brother Castor. So their father, and honestly, everyone's father, or so it seems in Greek mythology, Zeus, united them again in the heavens as the constellation Gemini. In the night sky, they are said to carry a lute, a bow and arrow, and a club, symbols of the creative, yet competitive, and at times combative, especially verbally combative, attributes of Gemini. Did someone say sibling rivalry? Interestingly enough, Gemini and the third house of one's astrological, natal, or birth chart represent the phase of life from late childhood to early adulthood, usually up until our first Saturn return. That onset hits us usually between the ages of 27 and 32, depending on the sign. This is a time in our lives when we're still discovering our interests and our identities. While we're making connections, we're not necessarily forging deep emotional bonds or long-term commitments outside of the family.